Welcome to Women in Public Safety, where real life events meets raw truth. I'm Harriet, your host, and I'm also a state parole officer, dedicated to unraveling human complexities through true life cases that we will call Case Chronicles. So join me weekly as we explore gripping narratives from the front lines of law enforcement and social services. From triumph to despair, we will uncover resilience, vulnerability, and of course, justice. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social media for the latest episodes and join the movement for change. Hey everybody, welcome back to Women in Public Safety Case Chronicles episode. This is episode number 2. Buckle up because we're going to really dive into real raw stories of people who've been down the path of incarceration and are now trying to repair their lives on parole while on supervision. And sometimes it's successful and sometimes it's not. So I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, just, I'm going to give it the gripping truth. I am going to change names. I'm not even going to mention names. I'm just going to say offender or defendant or anything like that. So buckle up and enjoy true case studies. So here we are. Let's get going. This one today, I want to talk about somebody that I personally supervising. He is a young man. And when I say young, he's only 20 years old. But it's interesting to me of the background that this young man have as far as criminal activities. He's only 20. His criminal activity started as a juvenile. But anyway, I received his case back in last September. His case came from Pennsylvania because he caught a case. It was a felonious assault. So it was a crime against victim. He had a felonious assault case in Pennsylvania. So he's from this state where he is now, but for some reason, I don't know how he managed to go to Pennsylvania, but he caught a felony assault case and he had to serve some time in the Commonwealth, their state parole system, their state prison correctional system. But when they let him out, he's still on what they call compact probation. So he still have supervision left to complete. And he wanted to complete it here in the state of Ohio, where his family are. And so I was assigned to his case. And so, I have to do the preliminary steps of approving his residence, which was at his parents' house, his mom and his stepdad. And I spoke with mom. She agreed to have him back home. Lady, very nice. And I have never met the stepfather, but he has, my offender, he has younger siblings. I think it was like maybe 2 brothers and a little baby sister. So he was approved. He came back to Ohio to his parents' house. And, I met him. When you read these cases, before you actually meet the person, you kind of get a visual idea of, well, this person, I can see based on what his criminal history, that he's going to be, this is going to be a challenge. But when I met him, he's just a little boy. He's just like a little boy, 20 years old, but he looked like he could be like maybe 13 or 14 years old. Very respectful, does not have that hard demeanor about him. Sometimes you could tell when, especially young people, when they are indulging in a life of criminal activities for a long time, from the time they were young kids up to the current point, they just have this hard demeanor about them. But this boy did not. So I accept the case. I met him, mom. He had certain conditions that he had to follow. Well, one of the main conditions that you get a job. First of all, you're going to live in mom's and dad's house. You're 20 years old. You got to find you a job. So he claimed that he already had a job lined up, which turned out to be a lie. Mind you, I met him. He came here in September. By October, he was already committing a crime. He committed a violation. He hooked up with one of his little girlfriends And word to the wise, there's young women out here, don't fall for okie doke. Please. I mean, you got to use some basic common sense. First of all, the boy doesn't have a job. What can he do for you? Unless you like that thug life or whatever, like to be in that part of that, nothing out of it other than you coming out of your pocket because he doesn't have nothing to offer. But anyway, I digress. So he and the little girlfriend took the girlfriend's mom's vehicle and drove to New York. Obviously, it's definitely a violation because he went out of state. And not only that, he's got another case of stolen property because he took this girl's mom's vehicle without the mom's permission. So he went to New York, obviously got pulled over by one of the towns in New York, and he got arrested. So they found out that he was on supervision here in Ohio. So I was notified. Actually, the mom notified me about what happened. So I found out what county and what city that he was being incarcerated because he was held in jail. So I called their jurisdiction in New York, and they verified, yes, he does have an open case. I think it was like reckless driving or something like that. I said, well, are you going to hold him? What is it that are you guys to pursue the case? They were willing to give him a bond, but he would have to come back, back and forth to court up in New York. So they let him out. They issued a bond. He came back and I met with him, and it was a violation. So I had to let Pennsylvania know what was going on. Sorry about that. He would have to have a travel permit to go back and forth to his hearing. That was in October. So by January of this year, he committed another offense here in Ohio, another receiving stolen property of a motor vehicle. That must be his MO. He likes to take people's cars. So this time I placed a hold order on him. At this point, there's no bond or nothing. Even if, and I explained to mom, don't waste your money trying to post a bond because he's not getting out, because I have a hold on him. I don't want him to go anywhere. So he's been held at a county jail. He's gone through the courts, pretrial, everything. And they finally found him. He just recently pled guilty to receiving stolen property of a motor vehicle. And he's now serving 6 months in our state prison. So he has a new number. He's went back to prison here in Ohio. And when he gets out, he's going to be extradited back to Pennsylvania because he's violated the terms of his conditions by catching another case. And he still has to deal with the case in New York. So this is a 20-year-old boy. And I've talked extensively with his mom. She's given me the background story about him. She's, like I said, stepdad didn't want to have anything to do with him. Stepdad did not want him in the house, not only, because of his behavior, but he's also a thief. So mom had pretty much to wash her hands of him. She was, concerned that he's running around out in the streets, with these other so-called friends that are doing the same thing he's doing. He can't go back to his home. So he's going to have to go back to Pennsylvania. He's going to be reincarcerated back in Pennsylvania after he served his sentence here in Ohio. And he still has to deal with you have to sit here and wonder, what is going on with this young man, and why is his behavior so wild and out of control? He's a bad influence. He's the oldest. He's a bad influence to his siblings. He has pretty much burned his bridges of all members of his family. I think his grandmother lived in New York or somewhere out of state, but there's no option for him to even, go to grandma. Grandma doesn't want him, around. his biological father lives in another state, and I don't think there were no any kind of relationship, which could be. But these cases, I mean, this is where the social work piece comes in. When you do these type of cases, when you have these type of cases, and as a parole officer, or even or any type of law enforcement officer, when you have to deal with families and the for the defendant, you just have to sit back and wonder. You made a choice. I mean, you're 20 years old, you have your whole life ahead of you, and you're pretty much basically throwing it away because of the dumb choices that you're making. And I always tell offenders when I first meet them, and I do it in a joking manner, but I also am serious when I tell them there's two reasons why you would want to go back into prison. One, because you're running around out the streets and you want to kind of get out the streets because it's hot, or somebody's after you, so you want to go inside, try to lay low to get off the streets. Or there's something or someone that you miss that you want to go back to the prison for. And best believe I'm not talking about a co-ed type prison either. So there's something in prison inside you meet that you missed and want to go back to. Because if you're doing dumb stuff out here in the streets and going back, I mean, that's simple. You want to go back because there's somebody inside that you missed that you want to go back to. And when I tell them that, they look at you, say, no, I'm not trying to go back. But then guess what? You violated, you do something, your probation or your parole, and then you're going back to prison. So obviously there's something, in prison that you want to go back to, or somebody. And again, we're not talking about a co-ed. It's not a co-ed type facility. I'm just saying. So I wanted to, share this particular case because this is so common now, especially for young offenders who are just going down the wrong path. And sometimes not because of lack of guidance as far as parenting. You can be the best parent and do everything you can for your child, but they still, for whatever reason, want to make the choice of going the other way. And like I tell them, I mean, when you go back in prison or go to jail, where are your friends now? Who are you going to call? You can call them for help, So, but then they're the same people that you want to, run around with. And you best believe they're not going to be putting money on your books or sending you boxes and clothing boxes while you're up, but you reconnect with the same, people when you get out, unless you make that conscious decision to change your whole environment, change your whole life around and move forward and, just leave that type of lifestyle in the past. And that, again, that is a choice that these offenders have to make. We can sit here and say all day long, they can say the excuse, well, I never had a father, which, that could be that very well is a major piece. You have an absent father, but at some point, you can't ride that excuse all your life. When you're a career criminal, you keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. Doesn't work that way. So, this particular young man, I don't know what's going to have to, take for him to realize that, what he's doing and, keep doing is not working. Are you collecting prison numbers? That's all he's doing is collecting prison numbers, and actually from different states. You got a number in Pennsylvania. You now have a new prison number here in Ohio. And if he has to go to jail or prison in New York, you're going to have a prison number in New York. So that's it for today's Crazy Chronicles number 2. I want to hear your thoughts. What are your comments? What's your feedback? Do you think that young men like my offender, is there still a chance for him to turn his life around? It could be, but he has to want to do that. he has to want to do it. And at age 20, I personally don't think that he's, ready to do it. He still has an immature mind. So, it's unfortunate. And, now you have younger siblings, especially a younger brother that's looking up to him. And then, like his mom said, she just doesn't want, to seem like she's lost him to the streets. She doesn't want to lose her other son to the streets as well. So, she has to make a, hard decision to kind of, give him that tough love and say, you can't come back here. I can't help you anymore. I can't help you until you are really ready to want to help yourself. So until we meet again, please stay warm and stay safe. And please hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll know when I will be coming back on. I'm going to be trying to do Case Chronicles at least 3 times a month, in addition to our regular episodes. So this is Case Chronicles number 2. Episode 12 will be next week. So you guys take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.